Всем здорово! И мы снова в Геншине. Так, у нас задание на церемонию. Но перед этим откроем молитву. Так, вот эту молитву будем открывать. Надо все-таки вот эту или вот эту выбить. Ну, поехали. Эпик. Легендарки не упала. О, а вот это нормально. Да зачем столько книг? Давай еще. Нет. Ну, неплохо. Так, у нас еще есть две. Давай еще откроем. Ерунда. И еще разок. Тоже ерунда. Окей. Так, а может мы еще что-нибудь? Да, мы можем еще две купить. Это не хватает. Давай тогда еще два раза этого откроем. Может повезет и вот этого возьмем. Угу. Повезет, конечно. Хорошо. Так, Розалия, она Крио. Копейщик. Так, с ними надо поговорить.
Well, since we're going through with this rite of parting, I guess it means that those rumors hit the nail on the head.
So Rex Lapis is really... But they didn't catch the culprit, did they?
Oh, come on. Do you think that the assassin could have been a normal person? You know what I think. I don't think any of the gossip on the streets you hear from those shady types is worth anything. There's only one real possibility in my mind. I've heard that the assassin was that Fatui fellow. Youngish, pretty high in rank. I think they called him Child.
The Fatui? They certainly are very suspicious. Who knows what those greedy, crooked folks...
Shh! Lower your voice. If the Fatui catch you in their sights, Rex Lapis won't be around to protect you this time.
You know that god from the ocean couldn't have just shown up out of nowhere. I mean, it's been 2,000 years since Rex Lapis subdued it.
Yes, and to think that this happened right on the heels of the incident with Rex Lapis, too.
Say, do you think the person who assassinated our lord and released that evil god might have been one and the same?
Now that you mention it, that's very possible. Yes, it's very possible indeed. I mean, it all fits together. That person must have colluded with the evil god to harm Rex Lapis. Oh, that wicked, black-hearted scoundrel. Still, what sort of supernatural prowess must this person possess to be able to do such things? I have never heard of such a person in all my years.
Forget it. Guessing's no use to us. Look, the Millilith over there looks like he's about to make an announcement. Let's hear what the Ministry of Civil Affairs has to say first.
Сколько же диалогов-то?
Hear ye all, the Chi sings words. Though a dragon soars ageless as the mountains, it too must return to dust. This is common knowledge. Gods and Adepti live glorious lives, but both light and shadow have their season. So too must they face divinely appointed trials. Rumors and hearsay abound on the streets that Rex Lapis was murdered. Now, let the truth be revealed. Having been thwarted in his trial, Rex Lapis's soul has recouped the celestial heights. He beseeches the people of Liyue to grieve not and to let not their hearts be saddened. Nor are they to believe street-born rumors or indulge in baseless speculation.
Paimon needs a translation on what the Qixing's announcement said. So that's how they're spinning it. Something feels off. Why would they suddenly give up looking for the murderer? Not to mention how this excuse sounds like something they just made up on the spot. Could the Qixing already have known that Rex Lapis wasn't dead? But Zhongli said that neither they nor the Adepti knew anything. Did Zhongli tell them in secret after his gnosis changed? Exactly, right? Ooh, seems like the rite of parting has been going on for a while. Look, it's Ningguang and Keqing. Are they saying something? Are their speeches over?
As said previously, Rex Lapis's soul returning to the heavens is the end of the contract. And it is also the end of an era.
3,700 years of contracts burnt and reduced to ash.
We, the people of Liyue, were indeed prosperous. But blinded by our prosperity, we forgot that time can be pitiless.
The long, unending dream of our Archon walking among us.
Now that we have awoken from our dream, we must learn to say farewell. Will you stand with us as we re-establish our contracts? As we build a new age of prosperity?
So concludes the words of Her Eminence the Tianquan. Does Her Eminence the Yuheng have anything to add?
Huh? Is she looking this way?
Traveler.
Yikes! She really is looking our way!
Is that the traveler who they say defeated the ancient god?
So young. The Liyue Qixing always repay their debts. And as you have heard, our eyes see far and our reach is long. Name your price. You deserve that much.
Whoa!
Well, could you help me put up some missing person posters?
Ничего себе.
Roping you in was possibly the most masterful move we could have made. I believe that future generations will say so too when our deeds come up for their review.
Why, you? Were you just trying to look cool earlier, or are you really that selfless? If you were looking for someone, you could have just told me that in private.
The cleanup of the premises, managing the crowds as they exit, making an account of the rite? There's much that remains to be done. I didn't miss anything, did I?
Hey, Zhongli! Look at this! Everyone in Liyue is caught up in their emotions. thinking that they'll never see Rex Lapis again. And here you are looking all relaxed.
Why would I not feel more at ease after laying down the burden I have borne for 3,700 years? Right. If the two of you can spare the time, I should treat you to a meal at the Shinya kiosk.
Ha! That sounds like big talk, Zhongli. Paimon might have believed you if you were treating us to some third-round knockout, but you'd have to pay out your nose just to stand inside Shinya kiosk. Are you sure you can afford it?
You're right. I do lack the Mora.
But why would Morax lack more?
As the Rex Lapis Morax, I can easily create Mora. But since I have chosen to walk this earth as the mortal Zhongli, I should abide by the same rules that mortals do. When I was journeying with you, though I still had the Gnosis in hand, I knew that I must soon retire from my role as an Archon. So I had to rehearse a little for my new life.
Oh, no wonder. Paimon gets it now. You didn't look at the price tags when we were spending because you've never had to. But since you weren't used to not being able to just make more Mora as and when you wanted to, you had to try becoming a parasite to society who lives off of other people's credit.
Well, we were only spending Fatui money. You don't have to say it like that. In the City of Commerce, we do not merely exchange money or goods. We also exchange knowledge, memories, and foresight, as well as positions, roles, and lives. The Archon Morax could never experience life as the true mortal Zhongli could, no matter how many times he descended to be with his people. I must thank you for that. I will treasure the memories that I made as Zhongli, traveling the streets of Liyue with you. That is true. But there is no journey that does not end. No meetings without partings.
Paimon thinks that we should make a move and continue our search for the Seven.
I fear that continuing your journey may be difficult. The nation that neighbors Liyue by sea, Inazuma, is presently closed. The Electro-Archon Ball. And just as the people of Liyue preferred to call me Rex Lapis, she too goes by another name among locals in Inazuma.
Paimon thinks we've heard that one before. Raiden?
That is the case. And since Raiden is also the Shogun of Inazuma, people call her the Raiden Shogun.
That said, though people at the wharf were saying that the situation in Inazuma is very tense, Paimon doesn't remember that always being the case. It wasn't that bad last year. Zhongli, since you're Rex Lapis, shouldn't you know something about what's happening there? Just how did Inazuma become a closed nation?
It's because of visions.
Visions?
When faced with circumstances beyond their control, humans often bemoan their lack of power. But if a person shows true strength of will at a desperate and fateful moment in their life, the gods will look upon them with favor. This is what visions are. Magical foci bestowed upon those who have been acknowledged by the gods.
Uh-huh. That's how people in Teyvat see it.
But starting from last year, the Raiden Shogun began promulgating the Vision Hunt Decree.
Vision Hunt Decree?
Yes. It was an order to seize all visions within Inazuma's borders, and to inlay them upon the hands of the statue of the omnipresent god.
They want to seize visions. But why? Aren't visions blessings from the gods?
I should think that in the Raiden Shogun's eyes, it is precisely because they are divine blessings that they should be under the sole dominion of divinity.
Whoa, that's harsh.
The Animo Archon is the god of freedom, and the Geo Archon is the god of contracts. For her part, the Raiden Shogun is the god of eternity. It seems as though she has finally decided to eliminate any unstable elements that could pose a threat to her eternal realm. The fact that even I, the oldest of the seven, have now passed away will only strengthen her resolve to pursue eternity. Knowing her, she must have again quoted that adage she is most fond of when proclaiming that decree to her people. 7 ideals for 7 gods. And of these, eternity is nearest unto the heavenly principles. All right then. Was there anything else you wish to know? Ah, that was a good one. Failing a divine trial. How they came up with that excuse, I will never know. That said, the reason why the Chising were so eager to resolve the incident and stop pursuing the culprit was indeed because they received news in secret that Rex Lapis was not dead. I hinted as much to the Adepti as well. How did I accomplish that, you ask? Have you ever heard of this particularly convenient Adepti art known as gifting dreams and visions? All right then. Was there anything else you wish to know? Well then, I suppose you'll have to find a way to get inside this closed nation. Have patience. I suspect that some serendipity must first come into play.
Так, что-то интересное и новое. Надзума открывается. Угу. Давай чайник. Здесь у нас что? Угу. Так. Вот это там надо. Так. Ну, чтобы его зарядить, надо эффектами в него пуляться. Что там, 94-100. Мы получили. А ерунду мы получили. Так. И он 6 дней кадашится. Так, это у нас что? Угу. Так. Его надо отхилить.
Children, come. You've arrived at just the right moment. I've been looking for you.
Oh, what is it, Granny? Need any help?
Oh, no. You've done so much for Liyue Harbor already. I could hardly ask for more. In fact, my old friends and I have been putting our heads together to think of what sort of gift we might give you in return.
A gift? For Paimon?
Oh, child, you are so very modest. Uncommonly so, even. But you mustn't decline this gift. I simply won't allow it. When you traversed my old teapot in search of the cleansing bell, I heard your little friend mention that you often camp out in the wilds. That simply won't do. Especially since I imagine you still have a very long journey ahead of you. Fortunately, I have not yet grown so old as to see my subspace creation ability. Oh, did my friends never mention that to you? Well then, it is a blessing we old folks once received from Rex Lapis, part of our illumination, if you will. I will not go into too much detail, but subspace creation is the ability to create a small, autonomous pocket world. The teapot that you entered previously was a little trinket created using that ability.
So, in the eyes of an Adeptus, creating a magic teapot world is just child's play, huh?
Oh, indeed, the teapot is nothing to boast of. One such as myself must depart from this realm to create a world of one's own. Rex Lapis, on the other hand, moved mountains and seas. That is what one might call an exercise of true power. But that's enough nostalgia for now. The gift that I have prepared for you just requires...
That's right! Finding stuff's what we're good at, after all.
Oh, settle down now, children. There's no need for you to go running hither and thither. I have already found a fleet-footed youngster to prepare what I need. What's more, I doubt that you would know how to find the materials I am searching for. Some of them are, well, for starters, I require some shimmer soil from the banks of Dihua Marsh. Back in the day, it could only be found where the glaze lilies thrived most profusely. You would have to dig downward, following the roots of the glaze lilies, and if you were lucky enough, you just might find a small patch of shimmer soil there. But almost no one has been able to find shimmer soil in this manner since Dihua Marsh came to be the way it is today. Even more difficult to find is smaragdus jadeite, which must be chiseled from the rock of the chasm. Or so it used to be. Ever since the Blackcliff Forge opened for business, they've slowly but surely stripped the mines all but completely bare of it. In any case, smaragdus jadeite is an adepti treasure, and the adeptal power within is not something that most humans can withstand. Extended contact with it is, in fact, harmful to humans. Goodness knows if that child will succeed.
Well, since you're an Adeptus, Granny, the person you asked for help, they must be an Adeptus too, right?
Yes. I suppose she does count as an Adeptus.
She counts? How come there are so many Adepti in Liyue Harbor? We seem to bump into them all the time. It feels like even when you go out to eat, you could be sitting next to an Adeptus and never even know it.
Oh, maybe so. Who can say? A fair few of my old friends are rather fond of mundane mortal life, after all.
I'm back, Granny. Oh, I don't believe we've met.
Allow me to do the honors. This child here is Yen Fei. She's the one helping run some errands for me. Yen Fei, I believe you already heard of the traveler and his traveling companion.
Of course, who hasn't? Much has been written about you in the Millilith's records. You became one of Liyue's most wanted after the Millilith marked you as a suspect following the incident at the Rite of Dissension. After which, you fought off the Millilith at Julian Karst and made contact with the Fatui. Before finally defeating an ancient god together with Granny and her associates, and subsequently being cleared of any and all suspicion by the Chising. What a shame. A shame that we didn't meet sooner. If we had, well, I can't say that I would have been able to clear you of suspicion immediately, but it certainly would have been less, embarrassing for you. Allow me to introduce myself once more. I'm Yen Fei, a legal advisor. Got a legal problem? You can come right to me. Oh, yes, here's my business card. You'll find it has my contact details and office address. Keep it handy. If you have an urgent issue, just leave me a note at this address. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I offer a very generous discount for first-time customers.
All right, Yanfei, all right. Let's get to the business at hand. I do not think these two are in any dire need of legal assistance at the moment. You'll have to excuse Yanfei. She's always been like this, ever the talkative one when it comes to her own affairs.
Paimon was gonna ask the same question. You seem really different from the ones we've met before.
An Adeptus? I guess. Kinda. My old man said he was one anyway. He mentioned that he once campaigned with Rex Lapis for a long old time, and then after that was all over, he went back and married my mom. They had me, and once I was all grown up, the two of them upped and left on a journey, leaving me with Granny here.
Well, that's a bit casual for an Adeptus. Aren't you guys supposed to sign solemn contracts to protect Liyue Harbor and all that stuff? What do you mean he just went back to get married?
Well, my dad did say that he'd talked it through with Rex Lapis, and that he was fine with it. Even contributed towards the wedding gift, apparently. Anyway, let's not dwell on that too much. So, Granny, I've gotten a hold of most of the stuff you asked for, except for Smaragdus Jadeite. I couldn't find any at all. The chasm's been sealed off, and there's just no way in. Couldn't secure any documentation either. Looks like the Ministry of Civil Affairs is serious about keeping it strictly locked down.
Is that so? But Smaragdus Jadeite is really rather essential. Yanfei, are you sure you can't find some other way? They have helped Liyue greatly after all. It is only—
I know, Granny, you've told me 1,000 times already. Well, the chasm's definitely a no-go, but there's still a chance we can figure out some alternative means of procurement. Hold on a moment. Let me have a look.
Whoa, that's a really thick book. What kind of things do you write in there?
Commercial consultancy. Or Snezhnaya. Ah, found him. Krusel. A Snezhnayan merchant who once came to me with some legal queries on certain articles in the legal codices. If my memory serves, all of them had to do with rare ores. He mentioned that he was considering acquiring some Smaragdus Jadeite to make hairpins, and wanted to know if there were any legal ramifications that he should be aware of. Said he was planning to sell them in Snezhnaya. So, I guess I'll go look for him. With any Oh, you want to join me? I suppose that's no problem, but it's best if you just stand by and watch. If you try to get involved, you'll only risk placing yourself in legal jeopardy.
Wow, an Adeptus imploring us to avoid incurring legal liability. Well, that's a first for sure. Best we be a little more careful than usual while we're with her.
Hello, Mr. Krusel. How's business been?
Oh, good, very good. All thanks to your advice, Miss Yanfei.
You're too kind. I was simply doing my job. Now, I believe that the last time we met, you mentioned that you were looking to source some Smaragdus—
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, in the end I did acquire a small piece of Smaragdus Jadeite, and had it fashioned into a pair of hairpins. Miss Yanfei, might I presume that you have an interest in the hairpins? I must apologize, I've already rented them out to a lady named Zhiqiao. If you'd like to inspect them, you may have to wait quite some time.
Wait, isn't Smaragdus Jadeite really rare? Aren't you worried about the hairpins getting damaged or lost while they're being rented out?
No, I'm not worried in the slightest, because I signed a contract with Miss Zhiqiao before renting them to her. The contract makes it quite clear that if she loses or damages the item in question, she must compensate me for its full original value. In return, I included a clause that guarantees the Smaragdus Jadeite is genuine, with a penalty of 10 times the item's value payable by me to Miss Zhiqiao in the event that it is shown to be a fake.
Guaranteed genuine, with 10 times the value payable if this claim is shown to be false. Yes, these terms are very clear indeed.
Of course. This way, both the client and I have the assurance we need. To ensure fairness, each of us has retained an original copy of the contract.
In that case, might you know where Miss Chow lives? We'd like to pay her a visit and have a look at the hairpins.
Oh, of course. She wrote her address down when we signed our contract. Here, I'll mark it on you.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Crossell. We'll be off now.
Oh, whatever shall I do? Yes, that's me. Is there something I can help you with?
How do you do, Monsieur Chow? We understand. My associates and I are very interested in them. Would you mind letting us take a look at them?
The hairpins. I can't lend them to you right now. I've lost them. I don't know how it could have happened. I always kept them right by my side, and I hadn't even worn them yet. I spent so much money on them. If I have to pay their original value, there's no way I could come up with that amount of money on such short notice. My family is in the ore business too, but business has been suffering ever since the chasm was sealed off. We now have a backlog of paid-up orders just sitting around, so we've been having to purchase some stock from other ore merchants to complete them. A big banquet is coming up in a few days, and several ore merchants I know of will be there. I need this opportunity to mingle and discuss prices. That's what the hairpins were for, to keep up appearances. I can't have them looking down on me. But now that I've lost the hairpins, what will I do?
Why does Paimon have a sudden strong sense of déjà vu?
Would you really? I sent a commission to the Adventurers Guild, but I haven't heard anything back from them yet.
Hold on. Don't run off looking for the hairpins just yet. Monsieur Chow, would you let me have a look at the rental contract you sent?
Huh? Well, I mean, sure, I have it right here. Here you are.
Let me see.
That's right! Yanfei said she's a legal advisor, didn't she? Maybe she can help Jiqiao somehow. True, though surely there must be a win-win solution.
Right. I finished reading the contract. The terms are very clear, and they do indeed stipulate that you must pay Mr. Crossell the original value of the hair. Furthermore, the contract also expressly states that the amount of compensation must take current market price, and given the rarity of Smaragdus jadeite, I fear that the final amount of compensation may end up being significantly higher.
Even higher? Oh, no.
Uh-oh. Jiqiao looks like she's about...
However, all of this is assuming that it is indeed genuine Smaragdus jadeite that was inlaid into the hairpins.
Did you really have to pause before saying that part? Anyway, the hairpins are lost, so how exactly would we be able to find out if the jadeite is genuine or not? Whichever way you look at it, we've got to start by finding those hairpins.
Except that if we found the hairpins, there'd no longer be any need to check whether the jadeite is genuine, would there?
Seems right.
Please. Please, however much it is, I will have to pay it. My family are merchants, after all. It's vital that we keep our word and respect. Now that it's come to this, I really shouldn't keep Crossell in the dark any longer. I'll go and inform him of...
Yes, legally speaking, it seems this is the most sensible course of action. But before that, so hold on a moment, Mr. Chow. When you first touched the hairpins, what did you feel?
What did I feel? Well, I remember that the gemstones set into the pins were perfectly smooth to the touch. Like, my family has seen much jade pass through its hands in the past, so I am quite...
Smooth to the touch. Fine. No, it's nothing. I just need to re-examine a few things.
Ну да. Сейчас к этому, потом опять сюда.
Ah, Miss Yanfei, you've returned. With Miss Jiqiao in tow, too, I see. How are the hairpins? I trust you're quite satisfied with them?
About that.
You lost them? Are you serious? Do you have any...
I'm sorry. Truly I am.
Mora! Do you have any idea what I had to go through to get my hands on that smoke? I just don't... Forget it. Talking won't bring them back. since Miss Yanfei is here?
No problem. But before I can give an official estimate, I'll need to do a little market research. Ah, yes, and if I may just confirm again, it was in fact genuine Smaragdus jadeite inlaid into the hairpins, correct?
Of course! Genuine article guaranteed, or I pay back 10 times the value.
Alright, understood. I'll conduct some market research, and once I'm back, I'll provide an official assessment of the sum owed by Mr. Chow in compensation. Please wait here, Mr. Crossell.
Thank you very much. How could she lose my hairpins? She'd better pay
Looks like I'll have to find some way to raise that.
Please wait, Mr. Chow. I have something to discuss with you. It's not convenient to speak here, so let's find somewhere that we can sit and talk in more detail.
Эй. Удобное место для разговора. Из одного конца города в другой. Круто.
Miss Yanfei, what is this about? Are you here to tell me how much I owe?
No. What I wanted to talk about is, there is a chance that the ore inlaid on those hairpins may not...
What do you mean? Are you implying that you already sneaked off and found them?
Obviously not. I'm no adventurer, let alone a member of the guild. I don't run thankless, time-consuming errands for a living. Let's just say I made some deductions. I don't know if Granny told you this, but Smaragdus jadeite is found deep underground and contains very concentrated elemental energy. If mere mortals come into contact with it, well, they'll be sick in the best case. And in the worst case, they could even experience a dramatic change of personality. It most certainly would not be smooth to the touch. Mr. Chow, did you at any time feel unwell while the hairpins were in your possession?
No, not at all. I felt perfectly fine the whole time. Not even the slightest bit unwell. I didn't feel anything special at all, in fact.
Now that is strange. I noticed earlier that there were elemental traces in Mr. Crossell's vicinity. If I've deduced correctly, he may still have the Smaragdus jadeite in his possession.
If that's the case, we should go confront him right now and expose his dirty scam right to his face!
Absolutely not. If we were to confront him now, there's no way he would admit to it. Eventually, he would find some argument to compel us to leave. And then, he'd throw the Smaragdus jadeite into the sea the moment we were gone. After that, he would simply insist that Mr. Chow pay up per the contract. He would lose nothing. Meanwhile, we would have to look under every stone in Liyue, hoping and praying that the hairpins do actually still exist somewhere in this world.
So vivid that Paimon thinks it might be experience talking.
Oh, it certainly is. I've seen my fair share of situations like this, and brute force methods are certainly one way of resolving them. Fortunately, I have far more elegant solutions at my disposal. I'll share them with you in due course.
Well then, since you're so experienced in dealing with problems like this, perhaps you could help me, Miss Yanfei.
Oh, that won't be a problem. But first, Mr. Chow, could I ask you to please sign this contract?
Huh? Does there have to be a contract for everything? Paimon can't even keep... It feels like Yanfei is even more concerned with them than a certain someone else we know.
These are my formal terms of engagement. Everything prior to now has just been pro bono advice. But for me to investigate any further, I require a written contract. Any work commissioned but not bound by a contract cannot be relied upon.
I understand. Then I will be glad to
No problem. Just sign here, and I'll sign too. Okay. Now write your address here, and then sign on this page as well. And I'll also need your signatures on pages 5, 7, and on the very last page. Finally, if you could just use this ink pad to make a handprint over here.
This contract has so many pages!
Alright, that should do it. My fees are the same as always, and they're written in the contract. Have a look through and let me know if you have any questions.
I've had a read through. Everything checks out.
Well then, Here's your copy of the contract. I will retain the other copy. Not for now, no. Despite how intractable this problem might sound, it will actually be quite straightforward to resolve, once we've got some things squared away. I don't believe you have been part of an investigation like this before, in which case, hopefully the—
Miss Yunfei, I have to ask. What?
Because, as it happens, I'm currently trying to acquire some Smaragdus Jadeite myself. I noticed strong traces of geo-energy. Whether he actually made it into an item of jewelry or not is a separate matter. But either way, it's a lead. Also, the idea of someone abusing the law to their advantage, I won't stand. But again, let's not dwell on this. Let's go to... where can we find some... I've got it! Let's pay a visit to Chateau, the boss of the Jade Mystery. If Mr. Crossell had his ore worked on at all, Chateau would undoubtedly have been his first choice.
Why, hello there, honored customers. Welcome to... Oh, it's you, Miss Yunfei. Is something the matter? Surely not more spurious...
No, nothing of the sort. Has a Snezhnayan merchant named Crossell enlisted...
A Snezhnayan merchant named Crossell, you say? I do remember that. He brought me a piece of ore, claimed that was the first time I'd ever encountered it, so I had no way of telling if it was really Smaragdus Jadeite or not. But if a customer insists, far be it from me to contradict them. He was quite generous with his money, too, so I didn't give it too much thought. I processed the ore as per his request.
Do you have any leftover debris from your...
Why, yes! It was my first time encountering this ore, after all, so...
Thank you, sir. We'll take a look at them.
Huh? If my eyes don't deceive me, the cross-sections and patterning suggest that... Yes, it's not particularly rare, nor is it especially valuable. It's used to make jewelry all the time. I've heard it said that Smaragdus nephrite is in fact the outer layer of Smaragdus Jadeite, though no one's ever proven it.
A thin layer of separation, huh?
If you must see for yourself, try examining these shavings for traces of elemental energy. Smaragdus nephrite is...
Is that so? Well, we might as well give elemental side a shot. So, did you find anything? So they really are different. But wait, how come Jichao was able to tell what it was just by looking at the shards? That's pretty awesome.
There's nothing special to it. It just so happens that I've come across a great many of these in my time. These two stones actually look very similar. Someone without a deep understanding of them would find it very difficult to tell them apart. There may be only a subtle difference for the casual viewer, but that, and I'm sure, a significant difference in the cost of having them carved into shape.
All right, let's focus up. We're going off on a tangent.
But never mind, Shirto. Why would Mr. Crossell...
Unusual actions have unusual reasons behind them. Let's take some of these shavings back to Chateau.
Miss Yunfei? Might I be so bold?
If you could just confirm for me once more, sir. Mr. Crossell did indeed claim that the ore he brought to your store was...
Yes, that's right. I still have a record of the job with me, in fact. Here. It says quite...
Then I have no further questions. But could I borrow the processing record and these stone shavings?
Of course. But...
Oh, I have my reasons. Yes. Please sign here on this affidavit. This document shall serve as signed proof that these stone shavings originated from the, ore that Mr. Crossell brought to your store. Please read it carefully.
Yes, I see. Forgive me for asking again.
I wouldn't say there's been an incident, just a minor issue. Thank you, sir. I'll take these with me.
With this hard evidence to back us up?
On the contrary, this is far from sufficient. If you want to make jewelry, you need a professional jewelsmith. let me think. Jewelry. Aha! Got it! Xingxi. She often helps people to find a jewelsmith. Let's go pay her a visit.
Well, that was quick. How come you know so many people?
Because lots of people come to me for legal advice every day. As you know, Liyue Harbor is the city of contracts, but the amendments made by the Tianquan to our laws are unnecessarily complicated. How can I put this? As such, legal advisors like myself provide quite the popular service indeed.
So you help them make sense of the law. But didn't you say that it's hard to understand and
Yes, well, that's no obstacle because I've memorized all the legal codices.
You memorized them?
You sound surprised. Knowing the law inside out, oh, this has nothing to do with being an adeptus. I just like reading things.
Again, with that casual tone.
Well, that's that then.
Oh, Miss Yenfei, it's you. Has something happened? Did the client from last time,
Have no further trouble from then on? Yes, of course. I'm just here. Has a merchant by the name of Crossel asked you to put him in contact with a jewelsmith recently?
Krosel? Yes, I remember him. He's a merchant from Snezhnayan. The design of the hairpins that he gave me was quite intricate, so it took me some work to find someone who was up to the job. Eventually, I found an older jewelsmith who made them exactly according to his spec. This order was on hold for a very long time, and only completed quite recently, which is why I remember it so well.
Doesn't seem like there's any evidence to be found here.
Miss Xingxi, I'd like for you to confirm for me once more. When Mr. Crossel commissioned you to find him a jewelsmith, did he or did he not assert?
Yes, I'm sure of it. The hairpins were made using many expensive materials, and the asking price was quite high, so we had to put this transaction on record with the Ministry of Civil Affairs. Mr. Krosel wasn't very familiar with the necessary procedures, so I filed it on his behalf. I also kept a copy for my own records. See for yourself, the item is called Smaragdus Jadeite Twin Phoenix Pins. The inlaid gemstone is recorded as Smaragdus Jadeite. The document even has the official...
Thank you, Xingxi. Now, could you let me...
Sure, it isn't serving much purpose here anyway. I take it then that...
Nothing you need to worry about, just a minor issue. I'll return your document as soon as I'm done with it.
Why is everyone's first reaction always to assume someone or something is in trouble?
I believe we have almost all the evidence we need. We just need to make one last trip.
The weirdo with the snake around his neck? What do you want to speak to him for?
Because only he can provide an authoritative statement confirming that Once we have this final piece of evidence in our hands, we can wrap this case up.
My, to what do I owe the pleasure? Though I'm afraid that if you're looking for our little Chi-Chi, she's out gathering herbs. And if it isn't Miss Yenfei as well, now that's an even rarer honor. What business brings you here, might I inquire? Some charlatans peddling ineffective...
No. I'm here this time to ask if you're familiar with Smaragdus Jadeite.
Smaragdus Jadeite? Why, yes, there is some information about it included in the 6th commentary on the 7 Mountain Treatises. The 7 Mountain Treatises states that this substance springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains, and will bring disaster to any mere mortals who touch it. It is abundant in elemental energy, so if someone without a vision is in contact with it for a prolonged period, best case scenario, they fall ill. Worst case scenario, they'll suffer great... Anyway, I'm sure you didn't come all this way just to chit-chat. Knowing you, Yanfei, and given the specific nature of your question, I suppose that you're about to ask me to write an official affidavit attesting to the pharmaceutical...
That is indeed the case. If you would...
No trouble at all. It's just a single document. Won't take me a moment. I would mention, though, that you are not the only one who's developed a cure. But after I gave him my reply, his expression... I wonder, Miss Yanfei, if your pressing business might be related to the Snezhnayan...
you needn't concern yourself about that, Dr. Baizhu. Thank you for penning us that document. I'll make sure to...
You're too kind. Take care.
That Baizhu guy is as weird as ever. Is it just Paimon, or does it feel like he was fishing for something back there?
Dr. Baiju's always been like that. Well, we have the evidence we need. Let's go find Mr. Crossell.
Какой Андрей? Иди отсюда.
Miss Yanfei, have you finished your investigation? I trust you will now be in a position to assess the compensation due.
Yes, my investigation is indeed concluded. I can now provide a final figure for the...
Wonderful. Well then, please, could you do the honors, Miss Yanfei?
Of course. According to the stipulations of the contract, Mr. Crossell, you must pay Mr. Chow 10 times the original transaction price in Mora.
Sure. Wait, what? Me pay her? Surely there's been some kind of mistake, Miss Yanfei.
Not at all. According to my investigations and the material evidence that we've gathered, the substance claimed to be Smaragdus jadeite that was inlaid within the Smaragdus jadeite twin phoenix pins that you rented out to Mr. Chow was, in fact, Smaragdus nephrite. Now, the contract states very clearly that 10 times the price shall be paid should the article not be genuine. Accordingly, you are liable for this sum, which is payable to Mr. Chow in Mora.
Material evidence? What material evidence? Why, Miss Yanfei, you cannot frame me like this. I spent a huge sum to obtain that Smaragdus jadeite, and yet you claim that the ore inlaid on the hairpins is somehow fake? I demand to see your evidence.
Indeed. Only a testimony from an expert witness involved in the processing of the ore can serve as an authoritative assessment of whether it is genuine. This is a processing record from the Jade Mystery, along with stone samples and an affidavit signed by the business owner, Chateau.
Seriously? Even the boss there couldn't differentiate between Smaragdus jadeite and Smaragdus nephrite. How does this prove anything? In any case, Smaragdus nephrite is the outer layer of Smaragdus jadeite. So I had him cut away the nephrite, he returned the valuable jadeite core to me, and some nephrite samples remain in the store. What am I missing exactly?
That's an unsubstantiated belief.
Well, your claim that my ore is fake is just as unsubstantiated. And we are here to talk about evidence, aren't we?
Ugh. Looks like our first piece of evidence didn't convince him at all. Seems like he came prepared. What should we do next?
Hard evidence. Something legally binding. We have just the thing. Oh, come on. I meant the backup copy of the document from the Ministry of Civil Affairs. The one we got from Xingxi of Mingsing Jewelry.
This document proves that my hairpins are the real deal, doesn't it? This is the Ministry's seal, after all. It shows that the ore inlaid on the pins is indeed Smaragdus jadeite.
Our second piece of evidence didn't work either. And this guy's getting more belligerent by the second.
You know, you could be right. Perhaps the hairpins are the real deal after all.
Of course I'm right. All the evidence shown supports my story.
Well, hang on a moment now, because I do recall one final piece of evidence that we haven't revealed yet. Traveler, would you do the honors?
What's this?
Smaragdus jadeite springs forth from stone marrow within the mountains and will bring disaster to sustained contact with Smaragdus jadeite over a prolonged period will, in less serious. Mr. Crossell, were you aware of these peculiar properties of Smaragdus jadeite?
I had no...
No idea, you say? I'd guessed as much. But for you to have rented out such a dangerous item, I'm afraid that this falls outside the scope of my work, but within that of the Ministry of Civil Affairs. However, I'm sure that the Ministry will be relatively lenient considering that, as you say, you were ignorant of the danger you posed. Don't worry, Mr. Crossell. I will make sure that all the evidence presented here will be handed over to the Ministry. I trust that you'll give them your full cooperation in their investigations.
What? Wait! I...
Oh, so you knew? Oh, dear, Mr. Crossell. But if you knew of Smaragdus jadeite...
Huh? No, I...
aren't actually inlaid with genuine Smaragdus jadeite? Is that what you were about to say? You do understand, Mr. Crossell, that this means that you will have to pay Ms. Zerchow. Mr. Crossell, your answer, please. My client and I are waiting.
Yep, he's seriously intimidating right now. It's like she's a different
I admit it. I confess. But I'm a victim in all of this too. I invested a great deal of time and money into acquiring that small amount of Smaragdus jadeite in the hopes of turning it. But after receiving it and carrying it around for a few days, I started to feel extreme discomfort. I couldn't sleep a wink, or I went to Boo Boo Pharmacy to get myself checked out, only to discover that that's why I had another pair of hairpins made from Smaragdus nephrite. I kept the real Smaragdus jadeite in a specially made box. I daren't touch it. I was worried that someone would see through it, which is why I only dared to rent them out, not sell them. And then to top it all off, Zhiqiao lost the hairpins.
Exactly! If they weren't the real deal, why'd you make...
I didn't want to either, but when I purchased that Smaragdus jadeite, some of my business partners found out. I knew they'd be watching closely to see if word got out that I sold a pair of fake hairpins, then my days in this line of business...
All right, let's cut the appeals phase right there. I failed to see what bearing any of this has on your transaction with my client.
10 times?
Crossell looks like he could faint any second.
As for me, according to my contract with Ms. Zerchow, 20% of that sum will go to me.
20%? That's as much as I spent on that Smaragdus jadeite!
There's no need. Even if the Smaragdus jadeite on those hairpins was fake, I still bear responsibility for losing them. Legally or not.
Ms. Zhiqiao...
However, Mr. Crossell, since you have no use for that chunk of Smaragdus jadeite, why don't you give it to me instead? I'll
What? But Alright then. This cursed rock's brought me enough grief as it...
Miss Yanfei, I'll turn the Smaragdus jadeite over to you. I trust that it will suffice as
Well, that's not quite how the rules say this should go.
Thanks so much for your help this time, Miss Yanfei.
Oh, come on. No need to stand on ceremony.
Well, yes, I believe we have.
Well then, that's good. Mr. Crossell, it seems that my client has...
Is that...
Actually, Mr. Crossell, I'd like to talk business. I could see from the hairpins you produce that you're very skilled in jewelry design. My family, on the other hand, works in the ore business. If we could join forces...
let me think.
Well, that's that. And we've got the Smaragdus jadeite that Granny wants too.
Exactly. Usually when someone tells us they've lost something, we end up searching all over the place for it. Even though the solution didn't involve actually finding the hairpin.
The right solution depends on your perspective on... The objective of my client, Mr. Chow, was to reduce her liability to pay compensation. An Adeptus. Speaking of, you took part in that battle, didn't you? In which case, you would have heard what Liyue Harbor is now a city ruled by humans. The title of Adeptus means precious little to me compared to my job as a legal advisor. In any case, Don't you think that the Liyue Harbor of today needs
Paimon can think of someone who would definitely disagree with your reasoning.
Well, since we got what we came for, it's time to pay Granny a visit. I bet she's been on tenter.
Ah, you've returned. How did it go? Good, good. Then we have all the materials we need.
Well, if we're all set, Granny, I'll get going now. Got a ton of clients waiting for me back at the office.
Oh, you. All right then. Go see to your business. Granny should be able to handle the rest.
I'm off then. Bye! Oh yes, Traveler. Make sure you don't lose... I've been looking into the laws of other nations as well. If you should ever bump into any trouble with the law, come find me directly. Regulars get discounts too.
Come now, child. Are you leaving or are you not? If you have no wish to leave,
I'm leaving! I'm leaving!
That child. Goodness knows where she learned to be so rambunctious. Her father was hardly so riotous or fond of talking Indeed she is. Yanfei might be overly garrulous, but she is also the most intimately acquainted with the city. Liyue is not the same place I once knew. All right then. Let us speak of this no more. Back on topic. I believe that I still owe...
Oh, Paimon's so excited! How is it made?
It is but a single teapot. It shan't take long at all. There we go. This Serenity Pot is all yours. Hold it firmly. If you were to drop it, oh goodness, who knows what? Take these blueprints with you as well. You'll need them if you wish to make your teapot a little more lively.
Wait a minute, Granny. How exactly are we supposed to use this teapot?
Oh, you needn't worry about that. I've already arranged for a certain...
Давай, парящие острова.
Paimon has a question. After the seed sprouts, will it grow into anything?
I don't know, but I feel the importance will lie in the method, not the endpoint. Using alchemy to awaken otherworldly life into that would constitute a big leap in my understanding of the essence of life. After awakening, even creation may be possible. Still a little...
No, Paimon's got a brain. But what's the seed gonna become? Isn't that more interesting than whatever it was you were saying?
Well, if it turns out to be a delicious fruit, dinner's on me.
Yay! Paimon's holding you to it.
Well, let's just say occasionally have to look after a child. Another lengthy explanation, I'm afraid. I suppose it's one of the few non-alchemy related disciplines I'm in. The subject of my first research was the elements. In this world, manipulating the elements requires a vision. Though I can't see anything resembling one on your person. How you're able to freely manipulate elemental power is something I'd like to ascertain. I've got a few questions in that regard. Firstly, do you have any extra organs? A second heart? A fourth stomach? Things of that nature.
Второе сердце, четвертый желудок. Конечно.
Fascinating. And this floating child is connected to your body in some way?
What a stupid question! Can't you see the gap between us? And another thing, it's Paimon, not floating child.
I was merely considering the possibility that you were an external organ. Perhaps there is some invisible force connecting you. Oh, that rules out that possibility. I wonder, did Paimon guide the elemental power to you? But that would mean that Paimon's elemental power would be enough to break through a mountain rock at least 10 meters thick, or cause the waterfall south of Springville to flow backwards. No, that definitely can't be it.
Hey! How would you know anyway?
In that case, it would appear that there's no obvious difference between the composition of your body. Given that there's clearly a discrepancy in their research, it seems that only experimentation will yield the answers. Firstly, this mysterious elemental power. Let me lure a few slimes to the area. Perhaps you'd be able to defeat them, using whatever method comes most naturally to you.
Huh? Doesn't seem very sciencey.
Direct and clear observation are imperative to a good experiment. This is just a simple exercise. Naturally, if you require a greater challenge, we could bring in 6 Oceanids.
Конечно. 6 океанидов.
Well, prepare yourself. The slimes will be... Terra Smash! Quake! Terra Smash!
Эх, мимо.
Let's spark things up a little. in for a little shock.
Great work. Did you feel anything out of the ordinary? If you're injured, I have a few emergency potions ready. Excellent. According to my observations, the manifestation of the external elemental flow is as expected. Elemental reactions are normal. Now that we know that the external flow is manifesting normally, let's test the internal flow.
Internal flow? How do you test that?
It's very simple. I can use alchemy to create a potion that will extract If the elemental power is stored or accumulated physically within your body, this potion may elicit an elemental reaction.
Sounds kinda terrifying.
Don't worry. In the normal course of events, you'd feel some temporary queasiness. No bodily injury.
And in the abnormal?
If anything unexpected occurs, I've made the necessary preparations. Try not to worry. Well, it's not that there aren't any risks involved. But if there is anything blocking your elemental flow, we'll be... Just a warning. If an internal elemental reaction occurs for any other reason, that's a bad sign. Yes, that's an excellent way to think about it. Before we get started, the potion we'll use for It's a type of ore known as star silver, but unfortunately not all of it is suitable. I'll take you to my campsite. We can gather some star silver ore on the way. All going to plan.
Paimon's still got a few safety concerns. Let's keep our eyes open.
Here. Should do for catalyst purposes.
А может, ну их?
This one. Usable with a bit of polish. What luck. This should be enough. My campsite is just up ahead. I'll lead the way. This is my campsite. I've added the materials we collected to the concoction. While we are waiting, have a look over here. My assistant Timaeus here is helping me with my research. I'm guessing you may have met in Mondstadt already.
Hello! I've just gotten hold of the data from your experiment. The report is already up on the board.
Whoa! Look at all the data! You got all these results from one?
I wouldn't call them results, inferences, and a few daring guesses, perhaps. I think the most rational direction would be to expound on the phylogenetic relationship between this traveler and the slimes. Consider. You don't have a vision, but you can manipulate elemental energy. Following this line of thought, I'm sure we'll be able to establish a basis in fact.
Not bad for a point of entry. But strictly speaking, slimes are elemental life forms. In other words, beings consisting entirely a cryoregis vine, or even a whopperflower might be a better analogy. But tracing back the phylogenetic relationships between plants and animals, you might have to trace back to the world's origins. In that sense, things might get difficult. don't you think?
Yes, sir. That sounds correct.
After all, we've got our primary data already. If it turned out that he did have a phylogenetic relationship with this world, now that really would be
Ah, it would. Apologies. I was so excited to get the data. I'll slow down a bit. Speaking of data, to complete our research, we'll need some more. I'll be conducting a...
Great. I'll leave you to it. Looks like the potion's ready. I'll try a little first. In line with my expectations. Ready to drink. Remember to keep calm at all times, and breathe deeply if you feel unwell.
Tasty? You've got a funny look on your face. You said you tried some already. You sure it was ready? What happened to him?
Oh, this was the result I was expecting. And a very positive one at that. This potion channels elemental power into the body. Under normal circumstances, a repelling reaction is to be expected. But if the internal elemental flow is unimpeded, you'll only experience momentary discomfort. Once the flow is complete, there won't be any other effects.
So you knew you'd be sick and still drank some?
It was my own concoction, of course. Only natural for me to be the guinea pig. But of course, you're my assistant. By all sense and reason, it would be wrong of me to place that risk onto you. In conclusion, I'd say we have our conclusion. As far as elemental energy is concerned, you're no
Paimon wanted something cooler to happen.
Then again, better an ordinary result than a peculiar result. Peculiar results have a tendency to be of the undesirable variety. The good thing about ordinary is that everything is an people are the same. They can understand, empathize, encourage, and support one another. When you're sick, a doctor can diagnose you because they are you. When something goes wrong, you can ask people who've made the same mistake for their experience because you are them. But a peculiar person, they don't have much recourse for the things we... For example, a human can't understand the life of a pyroregisvine or an Eye of the Storm. Have I explained it clearly enough? To sum up, this has been a positive outcome. Going forward, you can use your elemental power with Timaeus. The results of the new experiment are out. If you could see to collating them.
Just a moment, sir. I'll handle it. Oh, you gave me a lot to consider. Really stretched my limits. Having you down as an animal wasn't very precise of me. But starting with the premise of an elemental life form? Now that was...
Not bad. I think it's an interesting line of inquiry. Whatever the truth of the matter, I'd like your research at the fore as opposed to my judgment.
You can count on me, sir. I'll extract a result satisfactory.
Is he trying to join the Knights? He's starting to sound like a suck-up. What Paimon meant to say was, that's the spirit. Mr. Albedo, say some...
Before we can proceed with our research, I need to... prepare something. Wait one moment. If you're interested, why not have a look around? It may...
Интересно.
I'm back. Did you see anything interesting? Not to worry. They're all for alchemical purposes. Well, on with the research. There may be significant differences between different worlds. Take Tevat, for example. Here, those with visions can manipulate the elements. But worlds may well exist where only one person is able to do so. Or even everyone. So, leaving elements to one side, do you possess any unique abilities? I think answering this question calls for the same methodology as last time. In other words, time for the next experiment. No. You shan't be required to it. Now, see this pillar here? Use your willpower to try and break it.
You think Paimon knows how to do that stuff?
That was your best effort? Have you tried using your elemental
Тоже
power
похоже на Звездные войны. С их силой.
cooking as such? Rather, channeling your power into the ingredients themselves. I'm curious to see how the taste and texture
Но мы же не джедай.
It may even help with proliferation. I suppose I have a curiosity for things that others find surprising. Anyway, why don't you cook us up a sunshine sprat? I've just finished preparing the recipe.
Cooking? Paimon was looking forward to more mad sun.
Not only is this recipe a staple for me, it's also worth experimenting with and highly nutritious.
Paimon bets you're just hungry. It does sound yummy, though. Good buddies.
I'll leave you to it then. Looking forward to the results. If there's anything left over, maybe Timaeus can finish the last morsels.
Paimon doesn't think we'll have that problem. How are we gonna channel elemental power into the food?
An average outcome experimentally, but you've really brought out the flavor. You seem well versed in the science of gastronomy. As far as the proliferation hypothesis is concerned, we've come up short. Seems like food presents the same headaches in your world as it does ours. Unless, could it be that the natural laws of the...
We just didn't know how to channel elemental power into the food. It's a little more complicated than adding herbs and spices, you know.
Not to worry. At least we put some food to good use. No need to feel disheartened. And here's your portion. Enjoy. I can box it up if you like.
Woohoo! Thanks! Glad you were paying attention.
I can tell that you're good friends. Paimon was keeping an eye on you and your safety during the whole experiment. Not that Paimon would have been able to do much if things had gone wrong. But anyway.
Hey! You were being nice a second ago! But you do have tasty recipes, so Paimon forgives you. And you're right, we are good friends. You have good friends too, right? Good
Yes. I'm fortunate too, I suppose. Anyway, moving on to the next experiment. There are all manner of alchemical items here. Keeping them in their proper place is a challenge at the best of times. A while ago, I had the misfortune of misplacing a batch. I managed to retrieve the majority, but 2 vials have been evading me. Animal crystal fly elemental extract and electrohypo...
Paimon's barely finished eating and you want us to go gathering again?
Don't worry if you can't locate them. I was planning to replace them anyway. Though finding them would save me the hassle. If you had, say, a superpower, like night vision or vibratory sensing, lost property would be a thing of the past. I must have dropped them somewhere in the area where you were looking just now.
So, guess we'd better take a look. Oh yeah! You could use elemental...
Так, куда?
This must be electrohypostasis powder. The extract of an animo crystal fly can only be animo elemental energy, right? This has gotta be it.
Goodness, you managed to find them. I'm wondering, this elemental sight, this is what allowed you to locate the items, and
Yep. Guess it does sort of count as a
unfortunately, though elemental sight is seldom seen, it is not unheard. Only a never-before-seen otherworldly power would be of benefit to my research.
You mean we failed again?
Don't be disheartened. This falls entirely within my expectations. Besides, getting these items back, I have to commend your deduction that the items would contain elemental traces. Right then. Up until now, our research has focused on your otherworldly identity. Our research on your identity as one of us. In essence, the differences between humans are reflected in our intellectual and physical. Looking out from where we're standing, can you see what Sucrose is doing? And if you jumped from here and landed on that cliff, the one over there, could you see her then? So what about if you planted a single blow on the mountain face here, and it burst into a million fragments? Then could you see her? Then I shouldn't get too excited. Still, we'll gain a more thorough understanding with... I know of a location that will be perfect for a physical test. Please, follow me.
Still in one piece. You want us to jump?
Not necessarily. Not if you know of a better method, that is. Whichever method you choose, the experiment will end when you reach the opposite shore of the lake. I will factor the time expended and your top speed into my comparative analysis.
The opposite side of the lake. So, we're gonna be swimming?
Without limitations, we complete tasks intuitively, using the method that seems most rational to us. Some of us would be unable to stand the icy waters. Others might find the whole thing rather refreshing. No matter what choice you make, it's all a part of the experiment. For me, then if you would please, I eagerly await the results.
Wait a minute. While we're busy testing, what exactly are you gonna be doing?
Me? Recording data, responding to risks, providing emotional support.
So if we do decide to go swimming, you gonna dive in with us?
No. Unless you're thinking of conducting competitive research?
Даем. Че это такое?
Forget Paimon said anything.
А, у нас время идет.
Great work. I've never seen a performance quite like it. Your reputation precedes you, traveler. The data shows that you're easily outperforming the average citizen in...
But you followed us the whole way without breaking a sweat.
Me? Actually, I used alchemy to cheat a little. If it turns out that the natural laws of Tavad do not affect you, I should be able to make various inferences about the otherworldly civilization. If the natural laws of Tavad do affect you, then I shall be able to make inferences into the kind of evolution that would occur under the absence of such effects. The innumerable possibilities that this could present, the captivating insights.
But how does this help your research?
You've helped me to unravel many of the problems that were holding it back. When we return to the campsite, I may be about to make some analogies between you and a few unusual specimens. I hope you won't be offended. Gold, petrified trees, a sun 8 times the size of our own. The essence of the investigative process is enthralling. I'm willing to pour all my energy into research, and yet specimens are finite. As the unknown transitions into all these things that start out as objects of fascination end up possessing the prosaic mundanity of a Sunsetia or a...
Oh, so that's why you wanted to paint those hilly churls? Because...
Precisely. To quote my exact words from earlier, these creatures are, for the most part, quite boring, not worth closer inspection.
So after all these experiments, are we gonna be, like, boring to you?
Of course not. You have been of great assistance to me, and I will now. Before we head back to the campsite, follow me. There are some other ruins nearby. I imagine you must have encountered more than a few conundrums during your travel. I'd like to observe your intelligence by means of a practical test of your capabilities, much as we did for the physical test. I'd like you to explore these ruins and return with your findings. There are 2 puzzles located at the far ends of the ruins. After completion, as with the physical test, there are no restrictions. Everything you do is an action I wish to observe. Remember that this is a test of intellect. So should you get lucky in any way, let's see you in action. Start wherever you like. It's a complex environment, so proceed with caution.
Так, а ты как летаешь? Начинается с этой. Ну давай, лети. Так.
Sealy like these are a common sight in the mountains. Returning them to their rightful places is up to you.
Почему сразу нельзя полететь туда?
You've been a naughty boy.
Где вторая? Ага. Ну забирайся. Так, ну-ка. Пока здесь руду надо собрать. Нет. Да, блин. Да отстаньте от меня. Капец. Все. Ну давай, лети.
It should now be possible to activate the central mechanism. Exactly what will happen when you do is something I'm looking... Oh, seems that the water level has suddenly decreased. We should be able to see what's in the water now. Let's have a look. What's this? To the best of my knowledge, these belong to a script of some kind. They can be found all over Tevat, but they've never given up their secrets. There's still a lot to learn about them. And as for why they should ever... To the best of my knowledge, there's still a lot. Let me make a copy.
Another thing for the don't understand list. unsolvable mystery this, weird experiment. Seems like if you want the reward, you gotta pay the price.
I've truly gained a lot from all this. Comparatively, the little reward I can offer is too small to mention. Let me return to the campsite first. By the time you get back, I may just have a fleeting miracle for you to witness.
Paimon's kinda looking forward to seeing the results of all. Unless you can think of anything better to do, let's head back to the campsite.
Not so fast. You're not leaving until I'm convinced that nothing dangerous is going on here.
You didn't leave the mountain?
I most certainly did not. And I've witnessed everything that you and I must say, you let your guards down. Or maybe you were drawn in by his compelling sounding hypothesis and friendly demeanor. Taking orders from a complete stranger? Drinking anonymous potions? Participating in all kinds of... I'd sooner believe you were tricked than that you would be so naive. Or perhaps you were colluding from the...
Sister Rosaria's guard's so high, she can't even see over the top of it.
It doesn't matter what you think. He could be a saint for all you know. But I understand him a little better than you, Outlander. I'm only concerned with one thing. Whether his alchemy has transformed you into something more.
No way! Paimon would have sensed it. And anyway, he didn't even use any alchemy.
With an alchemist of his level, you wouldn't sense a thing. In any case, I'm not about to let a potential threat back into Mondstadt.
So, what are you gonna...
I've gotta hand it to you. You have your moments. If I can be sure that nothing you came into contact with is dangerous, that's... I've investigated everything else. The only items left on the agenda are these...
But we don't even know what they mean.
That much is true. Not to mention, seems like... But for insurance purposes, I'd better make a copy. This is now a location of interest. Regular patrols should be set up. Now then, all things considered, which is what I was hoping. I would have been one very unhappy sister if you'd made me work
Overtime?
Before we go our separate ways, Outlander, a word of advice. Don't be so quick to trust Albedo, and don't repeat the same mistakes that you did this time. You made a lot of rash decisions today.
She's gone! Mondstadt doesn't have many people like that.
You're back. Good timing. I've just about reached the conclusion. You took quite a while. Did you get held up on the way back? Time for the results. We got a myriad of data today, and it was very difficult to finish all the research in one go. But the integral preliminary conclusion that I can offer you is you're very much like a human from this world.
You couldn't tell that just by looking? We spent all day working our butts off for that?
Please, I understand that this may have seemed self-evident to you, but in fact, have you ever considered that the world of Tevat may have a natural hostility to Outlanders? I mentioned the natural laws of this world. You're able to converse with me here without consequence, and nothing seems amiss. But it's arguably a small miracle. The only other life form that, like you, has come here from afar is the seed that I mentioned. But after I observed you, I had another idea. Imitating you helped to inspire my alchemy. And so...
Whoa! It looks like something's appearing!
The transition from nothing into something, from shoot to stem, and now to fruition. Is not nurturing otherworldly life also nurturing the world itself? It would seem that that's as far as we go. A transient bloom of incomparable beauty. Life's proudest...
Paimon thought
Life is a manifold tapestry of free entities. Its value shouldn't derive from how long it stays with us. Even a momentary burst is precious. A short life can be well lived. A life lived efficiently, lived to perfection. So, do you understand what I meant about us conversing here arguably being a small miracle?
Things feel a little heavy right now. Don't be sad. You've got Paimon. Albedo, Paimon really wants to be your friend.
Thank you both. Even if dispelling loneliness is not essential for life, your help inspired me to discover the means to make a flower bloom. I mean that the time I've spent traveling with you in the mountains was a valuable journey for me. In the future, if the need arises, can I solicit... Well...
Все, закончили.
I made a point throughout of telling him how ordinary the results, but what was that sediment I saw forming at the bottom of the vial? It should not have been there. What could it mean? Those born of Earth are bound by its imperfections, but those born of chalk are free of impurities. You and I are alive. If, one day, I lose control, destroy Mondstadt, destroy everything, can I rely on you to stop me?
Так, и где он? Да, все это время у меня был.
Even bigger inside the Madame Ping's. There's even a great big house in the middle too. Huh. But there's just a whole load of nothing around it. Paimon can't do that. Well, you're the one with the sword anyway. You do it. Still, why is it so empty here? Oh, wait a second. What is that?
Прикольно.
Well, it seems that we have a visitor.
It's a huge finch!
Excuse me, I am not a finch. I am a teapot spirit, and you may call me... hang on a moment. Oh, call me. I suppose you may call me...
So you're the little helper Madame Ping mentioned?
Madam Ping? Oh, you must mean Ping. Yes, she did summon me here. You may leave all matters regarding the upkeep of this realm to me. Your journey may be far from over, but at least this way you will not want for a comfortable place to sleep. Though it is the Adepti who create realms such as this, they generally do not have the time of day to attend to the banal matter. Thus, we teapot spirits were created to help. You may consider me a butt. Now, allow me to explain this realm to you. Have you any blueprints on you? Specifically, blueprints with beautiful rooms. As long as you have a blueprint, you can refashion the
Blueprints? Oh, that's right! Granny handed us some when she gave us the teapot, didn't she? Let's take them out.
Yes, these are the blueprints I'm talking. Just commit the image of the objects to memory and prepare the necessary. Then simply release the thought from your mind and the object in the blueprint shall appear within this teapot.
Wow! Is that all it takes? Then we could build a whole city.
I doubt it. A golden-eyed adeptus explained this to me. He said that even though subspace creation is a product of adeptal power, even that, this world is not a true one, after all. It provides merely a moment of brief respite from the mortal realm, not a means of escaping it.
A golden-eyed adeptus?
I hardly remember myself. What's more, well, let's not dwell on that. Have a look
Золотыми глазами.
Best you get accustomed to
Это,
this realm.
наверное,
If there's anything
Властелин
you would
камней.
like to ask, just look for me.
Угу, угу. Угу. Понял. Блин, как удобно. Давай сюда. О, можно эту сюда поставить. Давай тоже воткнем. А, это главное здание. Давай сюда. Сейчас все полистаем. Интересно. Войдите в дом, изготовьте ткань, краску. Выучить чертежи. Угу. Очень много диалогов, очень многого узнали. Теперь у нас появился свой, как он там называется, подмир или что-то такое. Там что-то говорили про Инадзуму, закрытый город, который мы не можем посмотреть, ладно. Который внизу карты находится, далеко. Там нужен фрегат, насколько я знаю, чтобы плавать по морю. Всем спасибо за просмотр, всем удачи и всем пока.